This is Bill, and we're going to get going. You kind of feel when you're running these or facilitating like you're a radio host. So one of the challenges that we have is, we sort of have some of the benefits of being in person, but without the nonverbal. So it does kind of require each of us to over-communicate a bit if we need something or if we have a question or whatnot. I'm going to turn it over to Kelly, who's going to get it started, and then we'll hop right into this. I know we're on a tight time schedule, so but we certainly would encourage you to hop in at any point, and we definitely have left time at the end as well for questions. So I'm going to pass it over to Kelly. Just one sec.
Well, good morning, everybody. Kelly Kenny here with Test My Pitch. Happy Monday. I wanted to start this morning and say hello to all of you, and thanks so much to James Williams. Oh, sounds like we've got a new addition in.
Good morning.
Good morning. Who just hopped in?
My name is Michael Alfano. I'm the Dean of the School of Education Professional Studies at Central Connecticut State. How are you?
Welcome, Michael.
Excellent. Thank you. Great. Well, Jane, as we get going, I was just going to tell the story of how we met, in that we were at an entrepreneur event, and Jane overheard me talking with someone about our communication tool and thought that it was rather interesting. We had a chance to meet and then went to MCC and walked through a brief demo, and they saw some applications within their world, and we thought it would be great to broaden the conversation and invite a few different participants and get a sense for how would your applications go, what kind of use is used, if it makes sense to move this to a different utilization. So I'm excited to be here. We got a couple of people who just joined in, but Jane, do you have anything you wanted to add to before we kick things off?
No, I just, I think that when we had the short presentation over at Manchester, we saw a couple of possibilities for applications, both at the university and on the community college side. So I'm just really interested to get feedback from the colleges and universities, and if I can help coordinate next steps in any way, I'd be happy to do that.
That's great. Well, I'm going to take back control. This is Bill again, and so what we're going to do is we're going to do a bit of an overview of we have two tools, and so one is called Test My Pitch, and the other one is called Score My Pitch. And just to make sure that things are kind of advancing on your screen, the screen should have just changed, and you should see a logo of Test My Pitch on the left and a logo of Score My Pitch on the right. Is anyone not with us? Okay, cool. Again, we'll certainly pause at points, and again, we've left plenty of room at the end for questions. So please stop us at any point. We certainly want to answer your questions and make things really clear. So what we're going to do is sort of talk just for a few minutes about Test My Pitch, and then we'll go and actually look at the tool. But the easiest way to imagine Test My Pitch is it's essentially if you took the notion of Toastmasters and put it online. So we create private communities. It could be of students, but essentially of a cohort of individuals who are looking to improve their communication skills. So this a private community might be a class. It might be a group of students going through career services. It could be a variety of different types of use cases. And we'll actually jump in and talk about some specific use cases that are happening out in the field today in universities. So Northeastern University came to us, and their business school, they had a challenge that they have a very aggressive cooperative education program, and they had two really sort of negative comments they were getting from their corporate employers who were taking on the co-op students. One was that the students didn't know how to communicate, and the other one was that the students didn't know how to use Excel. And so they're now using our tool in the business school to help prepare students for co-op education interviews. And so the tool acts to help them essentially role play and prepare those communications, whether it's a self-introduction or an elevator pitch or any type of communication related to them getting those co-op education interviews. Cal Poly or California Polytech Institute or State University came to us, and they have a variety of very large business plan competitions that go across the school and are cross-discipline, and so you have engineering students and you know, variety of technical type students who are often challenged to communicate, and they're using our tool really for two purposes. One is to prepare the students to communicate, but also to engage more students, to give students a safe and collegial environment to practice before they get to these events, so they're more likely to stand up and pitch or share an idea. The University of Louisville has a education major, and they're using the Test My Pitch platform to prepare students for mock classes, and so they're able to practice the various role-playing that will happen in the mock interviews, plus they end up delivering a 20-minute class, and the tool allows the students to not just draft and post the mock class, but also to get feedback from all around the country from various teaching experts and mentors and so on. The Montana State University came to us and they said one of their frustrations was that there was only so much class time to allow to present, and so they've got a variety of communication classes, and the real frustration is that students, there's never iteration with any of their assignments. They only are allowed to sort of, with their time in class, to have one iteration, and they give it a grade, and that's sort of it, and they move on to the next project. And they're using Test My Pitch to allow students to post and do a variety of iterative steps in learning as they're developing their various assignments. So it's a place where the students are getting a lot more feedback and ultimately are coming in much more prepared for the in-class work than they would otherwise. And the University of Hartford, just one more use case, has their Women's Advancement Initiative, and they're essentially using the Test My Pitch platform to prepare female students for the variety of career and leadership initiatives. And so, again, allowing female students to build their confidence and competence in communication. So we're going to go, and I'm going to exit out of this, and we're going to go actually to Test My Pitch and take a look at it. So we're going to actually look at two different Test My Pitch sites this morning. And so just so it's clear, each sort of community is private, and so we can create literally communities of as little as one person or as large as hundreds or potentially even thousands of people. And normally what we see is it's better to create smaller cohorts so that people have that sort of community sort of feel. Some of the sort of larger communities that we see at universities now might be as much as a couple hundred, but you know, more often than not, they're smaller, 30, 40, 50. And so right now we're looking at a demo site or demonstration site, and this will be a kind of a good overview, and then we'll actually look at a specific customer site so you can get a sense of what that looks like as well. So I'm logged in, let's imagine me as a student, and I'm just going to go to the member homepage, and we're going to do two things here. One is we're going to take a look at the pitch drafting process, sort of what's there, and then we'll look at, I'll actually log in as a different user, and we'll look at the reviewing side. So we'll look at a pitch that I've posted under this ID, and then we'll look at the reviewing. So the whole goal, and what we found as we were testing this idea, was that where students and individuals get hamstrung when they're developing any kind of communication is actually at the very beginning, and we validated this sort of over and over. And so the real first effort of this process is to help people very quickly create a draft so that they can move on to get feedback and iterate, so that they're, you know, again, just like you would if you were drafting a letter, you don't begin with a final draft. You begin with a first draft, and usually, especially something that's important, you're going to do multiple drafts before you release it to the public. So you should be on a screen right now that says "Create a Pitch, Step 1," and you'll see just a full list of different pitch types. Again, this is a demo site, so it has a variety of examples. It doesn't represent any specific customer use case. But if we were just going to go and click on, as an example, maybe we'll click on business networking. Certainly students need to be able to network. We could certainly click on career, but we're actually going to look at a customer site that has career on it. So rather than being redundant, we'll look at networking, and you'll see a variety of choices here, 10 seconds, 30 seconds, 60 seconds. Everything from here forward is all customizable, so there's no individual customer site that sort of uses all these choices, and some of them have totally different choices, and it's really up to the specific use case in terms of what this looks like and what steps are available here. But you could have, week 1, week 3, week 4, week 7 lessons as well embedded in here, and it can be sort of built into curriculum or for use in specific programs. But if we just click on the 30-second business networking, you'll see here that it's a templated process. So the goal is to get an individual to develop their pitch in small chunks. And we essentially look at this as they're identifying their pitch assets, and they just respond to these questions as well as they can. They hit save and continue, and that information then goes to a text editor, and I'm just going to back up 2 steps, where they can then go and wordsmith it. They can go and make whatever edits they want to here, so it's a cogent statement, and then they can either hit Save Changes here at the bottom, and that will post the text, or they can go on and create a video, and the video will also post along with the text, so that the feedback they get is not just about the script, but it's about actually their ability to communicate that script or a version of that script. I'm just going to hop over to this University of Hartford site so you can see what this looks like sort of practically applied to a specific customer use case. So as you can see, this particular site is for the Barney School of Business. And again, I'm going to go to the member homepage, and so that you can see how discrete a specific customer site might be. You'll see here, instead of 8 options, they have 1 option. So the students in this class or in this program come in and they just simply click career, and there's only 1 choice here. So they click that, and they're on to the template that will help them develop their communication. So they can use all the sort of hints and notes that are on the right here, and they're just responding to these questions, and all of this information, when they hit save and continue, flows into that text editor, where they again create that very clear statement so that they can begin getting feedback. And where at least our experience is that the drafting process without this will probably take weeks, and in using this, we more often than not see the drafting process take minutes, and it's really dramatically different. And again, once you start getting feedback, you move forward much, much quicker. So I'm going to log out really quick and log right back in as let's imagine maybe I'm a peer, if we're going to do peer review, or maybe I am a faculty member or a program manager or whatnot, and I'm coming in to give individuals some feedback. So I'm just going to click on, this is the exact same pitch that we just looked at or that we just posted, and now I'm looking at it as somebody who would give feedback, so I can read the text, I can watch the video, and then I can come down and evaluate it. And these, just like on the drafting side where the templates are all customizable, these review templates are all customizable as well. And so it could be whatever criteria you feel are important. But what the really important thing of this is that the criteria really aligns with the learning outcomes that you have. And so this is all, this is all built specific to whatever lesson plan or learning outcomes are in the objective. So an individual would just simply rate and give comment, and again, it could be peer review, it could be faculty, it could be alumni, whomever, and there are use cases that support each of these. And then you can look at reviews that have already been given. So this is what an actual review would look like. So I can see both quantitatively and qualitatively how I'm doing, and of course I may have feedback from 5, 10, 15 people, whatever sort of appropriate for the program I'm in, and then I can go and I can create a brand new pitch based on the feedback I've gotten, and get another series of feedback and continue to move forward. So I'm going to breathe for a moment. Are there any questions so far?
Yeah, there's a question here from Western Connecticut State University. This is Kathleen, and I'm here with Elise Lukowski of the Learning Commons. Our question is there a way to make some of these, especially some of the student inputs, anonymous? So for those that, say if we were to use this for some kind of assessment, in our assessment of learning processes by alumni or faculty, is there a way to make some of these responses where the inputs from the students anonymous?
Yeah, that's a great question. And actually, you've anticipated where we're going. So this is so the idea of Test My Pitch is it's a collegial community to sort of get you to that live communication opportunity. And we'll next actually go into Score My Pitch, which will do, I think, exactly what you're looking for, which will be, it's much more about either grading, scoring, judging, and that's all anonymous, where this is, the intent of this is collegial and community. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. Thank you.
Yeah, you bet. You bet. Again, I'll take another breath. Are there any other questions that anyone has? And just so you know, we are recording this, so feel free to share this later on with others that you would want to have see this. So, so I'm going to now go to, just back real quickly to the slide. So just to give you a quick summary of Test My Pitch, and again, we can talk through individually with folks, for specific questions or use cases, but just a quick high-level overview. The templates are customizable, and both on the drafting and feedback side. There are privacy options both at the community level and also at the user level. So communities can be fully public or private, and as well as users. And then it's possible to invite members, and all the data is exportable. So if there's a reason from a grading standpoint or whatnot, to export the information, you can do that as well. So on to Score My Pitch, and Kathleen really created a great segue there. So where Test My Pitch is really focused on helping individuals prepare for live communication. Again, think of Toastmasters. It's a safe place for you to practice and essentially, test out your ideas. And communicating effectively is what we're learning is it's certainly important to say the right things, but confidence is also a big part of the delivery of that message. And so making sure that individuals aren't just confident, but they're also confident is sort of a key ingredient, because if they're not confident, they won't get off the bench and get into the game. So Score My Pitch is really, now you've gone from that place where you're practicing, now you're at a place where you're, it may be a practice live delivery, but it's where you're in the room, either in person or virtually, and you're looking for either scoring, grading, or feedback. And the whole idea of this tool is that we want to harness the wisdom in the room and really not just score well, but also give people really good feedback. So we'll quickly highlight a few use cases. And actually this one, some folks on the phone may be familiar with. It's a program that started last year called the Connecticut New Venture Challenge. And it actually is pretty remarkable, and I haven't seen a similar program across the country, but 10 universities and colleges in Connecticut now teach a common curriculum in entrepreneurship, and this year it'll be in the spring semester, and they actually come together both for the curriculum development and also in the delivery of a final sort of a startup weekend-like event, and a full weekend, 54-hour sort of business start weekend. It's a phenomenal thing. So I think it's a 10-week class this year, and then that weekend experience. And so the schools that are involved in this from the Connecticut colleges and universities are CSCU, Gateway, Housatonic, Southern, and Western, and there may be more coming, but there are at least 10 schools in the mix for now. And next, University of Hartford again, they're using the Score My Pitch tool for the Barney School of Business is using it in the career services and a variety of different use cases. But one is that they're helping students understand how to dress better, and the students are actually rating a variety of different appearances, and again, the goal being to get the students involved in improving their eye for what is career-appropriate dress as they go out to begin interviewing. The University of Northern Iowa has a large statewide business plan competition. They're using Score My Pitch to judge and aggregate feedback for that event, both at the sort of local, regional, and statewide levels. The University of Massachusetts in Amherst is using Score My Pitch. Several professors are using it to score and give term paper and different project feedbacks. One of the things they were complaining about was the fact that, in large classes, it was very difficult to be consistent in terms of your grading. And the Score My Pitch tool has some score normalization features that help the scorers be consistent. And then Olin College in Massachusetts is using it to judge and give feedback for in-class presentations. So not just pitches, but really any kind of situation where they're scoring. We have some organizations using it to judge individuals for program entry or teams for program entry. So there are quite a few use cases, but the real key is that you're going from that sort of practice community to now really what Score My Pitch does in a very simple sense is replaces a scoring, a piece of paper that you might use for scoring in it, and it very much professionalizes the process. And so what we're going to do now is actually take a look at Score My Pitch. And so the whole idea of this tool is to capture and aggregate feedback. So we're going to look at two things. One, we're now logged in as a judge, and we're going to look at a judge ballot. And this tool allows both judge and audience scoring where that's appropriate. So there are actually two different types of ballots. There's the judge ballot, which we'll look at, and then there's an audience ballot, which you can manipulate on a smartphone. And the judge ballot is probably better to have a laptop or at least a tablet with a keyboard, because you want to be able to enter text. And so what I'm doing now, I'm, again, logged in as a judge, and we're going to go and just go to a demo event that's in here. So it's not necessarily a specific event, but just one that will give us a good example. And you'll see the team names down here on the left, and you'll see criteria. These are all customizable, and so you could have anywhere from sort of 1 to 20 or so criteria. More often than not, we'll see anywhere from 3 to as many as 6 or 8 or maybe 10. Really depends very much on the objective. But the whole idea here is that as you're listening, if it's an oral communication, as you're listening through the pitch, that you're just taking notes in terms of strengths and recommendations, and then during any question and answer period or any slight break, you put in the scores based on each criteria. And of course, you could also use it for sort of judging papers and whatnot. Obviously, you're just going to enter your scores and comments as you will from there. there are really two things that make judging actually very challenging for organizations. One is that it's very normal. In fact, you look at any kind of judging in this, and this is a very normal problem, and that is that judges' scores skew after the third or fourth presentation. And this could be figure skating, this could be gymnastics, or it could be pitches, oral communications, or anything where there's sort of an objective person trying to grade. And it's very normal that in the first 3 or 4 presentations that or events, that the individual is sort of level setting, and then from there they sort of get easier. And so what we've done to normalize this, I'm just going to skip down the scorecard to the 7th team, and again, this could be individuals, this could be projects, whatever sort of the appropriate nomenclature here. And you'll see that the 6th team has a total score of 2.5 and they're ranked 4th. Now the 7th team hasn't yet been voted on, and you'll see as I'm ranking them, their rank is going to, and their score is going to dynamically calculate. So I'll see where they're ranking, and if I'm on the 7th team as I am here, or maybe I'm on the 100th student in terms of if I'm grading a term paper, I know exactly where this student is ranking relative to their peer group as I'm going through. So I'm able to, of course, give them the appropriate scores on each of the criteria, but even more so, give a relative rank that's also informative. And we find referential learning, not just the idea of knowing how I did abstractly, but knowing how I did within a peer group allows me to learn even more, because then I can model better performance as I, sort of as I know how I'm doing relative to, again, to my peer group. I can gain a lot more reference points as to how to improve my own performance. And the other thing that we find will dramatically change results, and this doesn't occur in every event because not every event has this challenge, but sometimes there are, whoever's scoring will then caucus and talk about their impressions and then make decisions on the rankings or the winners and so on. And what often happens in those meetings, more often than not actually, is that the louder person in the room has undue influence on the results. They're charismatic or they're more persuasive or whatever the case is, but they actually end up, by the force of their personality, they end up changing the results. And so because the results are available as soon as the people voting hit finish their vote, or finish your vote, those results then inform that meeting. So as opposed to that meeting, people having to talk about their consensus and try to come to consensus orally, they actually have consensus visually and very much, very dramatically through the scorecard itself. And so we just looked at the judges count. We're actually going to go and just look at an event scorecard. And excuse me while I just scroll here for a second. I'm going to a specific event. Let's see this one. We're going to go to what's called Startup Weekend. We're going to go to an event in Stanford. And the reason we're picking this one in particular is because they actually used video as well. And so this gives a little bit of an impression, or more of an impression, of the overall capabilities of this. So at this particular event, there were 5 judges. So this is an aggregation or a roll-up of the 5 judges' scorecards. And you'll see there are different criteria here than the ballot we looked at. So this is a different event with different criteria. And again, these scores are the aggregation of all the ballots, so they're average scores. And you'll see the totals and the ranks, and in this case there were prizes. Not all events have prizes. And there were a few audience votes. This particular event, they rolled out the audience voting late, so there's not a lot there. But the real kind of amazing thing here is, number one, going back to that judges meeting, if there is some kind of a judges meeting or a discussion about the results, this is available instantaneously, so that when the judges go into the sequester, they have this information, so they don't need to waste any time talking about perspectives. they can actually say whether this represents their point of view or not. And if not, maybe they're going to break ties or anything like that. And that's probably what happens more often than not, is if there's a tie, the judges kind of talk through how to break the tie or a virtual tie. But more often than not, you'll see that this is the end, and you're done, and you move on, because everybody now has confidence that they understand each other's perspective and they see the agreement. Where again, if that's all done orally, it's much harder to have a sense of agreeing. The other thing to point out here is the volume of text comments. So we get, and we do a lot of side-by-side testing, we get about 9 times more text comments than you would via paper. And not only that, it's all legible, which obviously with paper can be a challenge. So when the students get this information, it can be shared just giving them their individual information, or you can share the whole thing so that, again, they get a sense of relative rank and the ability to model people who perform better. But when they get this information, they have both very strong quantitative feedback against specific criteria that are consistent across the people who are giving them feedback. And then they also get the qualitative comments that help them really understand the point or the where they are in terms of the gaps in improving their score on each of the criteria. And we kind of look at this as the feedback we get when we drive our car. It's the instruments on the dashboard are important, and that's the quantitative part. And also our ability to look out the window as feedback is really important as well. And if we took away one of those inputs, it would be really hard to drive our car. And it's very much the same in developing communication skills and developing business ideas or career pitches and so on. If we don't have both sets of feedback, there are limitations in terms of how quickly we'll evolve, and hopefully we don't crash, which is always difficult. So just one other thing to point out on this scorecard is, and not all events, not all presentations and whatnot are videos, but this particular event, they videotape the pitches. And so you're able to, if you look at this scorecard as a repository or an archive of the event, you're able to post the video along with the scorecard so that when anyone comes back to this, maybe it's the people that participated, they're able to watch their performance and relate it to the scores they got. They could watch someone else's performance, maybe someone that did better than them, and see how those comments related to their comments. Probably the most mature use of this, which I think it takes some time to evolve to this level. But if you look at these results like you would the results from a running event, maybe a 5K race, an individual uses results from a 5K road race in 3 ways. One, they look at the results to see how they did versus their expectation. So imagine people communicating and trying to learn how they did versus their expectation. Then they look at it, how they do versus people they competed against. How did I do referentially? And the third is, and this happens all the time in competitive sports, is how do I go to that event more prepared? So if you're a runner, the results from the last several years are usually on any of the event websites that you would go to. So before you go, maybe 3 months, 6 months, 12 months before you go to an event, you're going to look at those past results, and that will inform how you're going to train and prepare for that event, and maybe even who you're going to network with or train with. And so imagine being informed, imagine having students coming into class or into various events more prepared, in fact, standing on the shoulders of people that have been in that event or program before. And so really highly leveraged learning is sort of what we're aiming at. And just one other quick slide to kind of summarize Score My Pitch. So very quickly, it's customizable criteria. The judge and audience, or judges and audience, have unique ballots, and there's score normalization. The process is automated, results are instantaneous, and similar to Test My Pitch, the data is all exportable. So again, can be used for grading and any kind of information or data collection as well. Whew. I will breathe now. I apologize for kind of going on, but I want to give you a quick overview. So what questions exist? What can we help answer?
From Western Connecticut, this looks great. We see a lot of application with this, especially with a lot of the more detailed assessment processes that we've integrated into our learning. So I think especially with the customizable piece of it, we see a lot of application here.
Oh, that's great. Thank you. Is that Kathleen?
Yes, it is. Here with Elise Silkowski.
Fantastic. Thank you. Is there an example that you're thinking of that, it sounds like you see several things, but is there an example where you see sort of a high-value application?
Well, I mean, especially with class presentations, because we have, several, especially a lot of our capstone classes use presentations, by both teams. And now I guess the question too, can we, obviously this is customizable, so as we look and you're assessing a team, but we also have to assess some of the individuals within the team. So I'm sure there's a way within some of these customizable templates to break that out.
Yeah, and I would suggest that, this, without further discussion, just a quick reaction is that would probably be a separate ballot, because you're really looking now at sort of team by, you're going from a team review to individual review, and that might be different criteria, and, it might be a variety of different things, but it's really easy to do.
Right. And when, of course, with this all being online and automatic, it'll be a lot more easier for judges to go in and out, to, look at something team-wise and then maybe take another look at it again from an individual if that's what they had to do. So, I mean, I see it's probably more one or the other, but yeah, no, you've built in the flexibility, I think, that we need. I also see an awful lot of application here for our Career Development Center. Do you work closely with the Career Development Centers to use this?
We do. It's actually we're finding sort of that, if we look at the sort of three places where we've seen the most application in the universities, it's certainly in sort of business and entrepreneurship, the communication schools, and career services are kind of the three that we're seeing sort of the most application.
Awesome. Near and dear to our hearts here, so you're speaking the right language.
And Kelly mentioned that UHeart used it for mock interviews, right, with employers?
Yeah.
That's correct.
So what they did is they were finding when they were partnering with corporate HR departments and really sending the students into a live environment, that the one HR department would give feedback harder or easier than another because it was pretty random what the expectations were. So they're using Score My Pitch and giving the mock interview corporate person a list of 5 things to look for in that interview, and then giving consistent feedback. So if you go to Stanley Black & Decker versus Webster Bank, both of the interviews are assessing under the same criteria so that it all rolls up, and for her she gets a unified feedback form, and she gets more consistent interviewing because she's actually giving them something to look for. And she doesn't have to train the HR people, but it informs how they give feedback.
And I thought, is it true that you can also give feedback to an academic program based on this interview so that they're teaching to the right objectives of the company? Did we talk about that a little bit, or maybe I misunderstood that in a previous conversation? Can you, through mock interviews, see how a student might be doing as far as what they're learning, as far as the curriculum goes?
Right. So instead of assessing a team, they're assessing an individual student, and it would be around those criteria. So as they're looking at the curriculum and saying, did you comprehend X or Y, those would be your different evaluation segments. And so the tool is then customized to that particular criteria based on the student apprehension, and on a scale of 1 to 5, how well did they learn whatever they were anticipating. it's certainly an easy application here.
Okay. And so you're the employers that you work with are across all industry sectors.
Right.
I take it like manufacturing employers in Connecticut.
Absolutely, easy to do, and we could set it up customized based to, you know, if you're a machining shop versus a, you know, a precision shop, what different avenues would you want to have them assess? And we could set up a scorecard based on their individual things, or across manufacturing, we could do a more general.
Okay, because one of the things we were talking about would be if, you know, employers could do a curriculum review. You could use this platform, right?
Yeah.
But create a customized template so that they're looking at your curriculum and scoring it.
It also gives them the opportunity to do it when time is available for them, so they can do the assessment at any point, and it'll all roll up when they hit their finished ballot. So it makes it easier for you to gather all that together.
Exactly. Yeah. Thank you.
This is Denise. I'm here with Jane at the BOR, and I'm a grant project assistant on an advanced manufacturing grant from the federal government. And to Jane's end, one of the things that the reason that I'm sitting in on this today is because we're looking at using this to, as part of our grant, we have to create a certain amount of curriculum. And we want to be able to use this not just for students to be able to learn, to assess, you know, sort of what they have learned, but in creating new curriculum, having industry partners to be able to review it. So we could actually submit, say, like a new class that we have created and have industry partners kind of look over it and create our scorecard based on kind of the feedback that we're looking for from them.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And is your class curriculum, is that in a text format? Would you have somebody simulate it? How would you, is it text?
Well, yeah, it's in a text format. I mean, you know, I haven't actually seen one completely finished that I think they've just started to submit them at this point. But yeah, I mean, it's going to be, you know, there will be syllabus and supporting materials and, you know, things that they'll be using to teach the class, probably PowerPoints and things like that. So, you know, it would just be sort of getting an idea of, hey, like, you know, we created this class. What do other industry partners think of, you know, the materials that we've thought about using in the class? And do you think we're on the right track with the curriculum that we're, you know, that we're creating?
Right.
Well, this would be a really good way to collect that sentiment and also know where you're on target and where you sort of need to continue to evolve the curriculum. So,
yeah. So if you're getting a lot of twos on a syllabus, you know, on a scale of 1 to 5, does this syllabus meet what your needs are? And then they're giving you the comments of you're missing this or you're missing that. You'll have both components and be able to tweak that.
Okay. And so how do we go about that? I mean, is there like, do I just email somebody on pricing or something like that? Is it per course? Is it per program? Is it based on the number of hours that it would take people to review? I mean, just to get an idea.
Yeah, the pricing for Score My Pitch is actually really easy. It's and you know, so I'll describe what it is, sort of the public pricing, and then of course we would create a custom program for Connecticut colleges and universities. But it's really this simple. The Score My Pitch tool is $79 a month, all you can eat, and that, you know, there would be by location or department or, you know, whatever sort of entity there is, but that would give you an account. You could have as many events, as many judges, as many criteria, you know, all that. There's no limit to the use, and so the whole goal is to, you know, help you, you know, sort of apply it to as many places as you can throughout the month. It's really that simple, $79 a month. And again, that's without, you know, sort of thinking of a you know, program for Connecticut colleges and universities.
Okay, and that still would allow me all the customizable tools.
Yep. Yep, no limit.
Okay. Okay.
And
Thank
usually
you.
what we do, and when we set up that initial thing, we'll set up the first template with you or whatever, but it's really user-friendly so that if you get into it a little bit and you're deciding that this score needs, you want to ask different types of questions, you can easily go in and manipulate it. But we'll set it all up for you to begin with, and then you can play with it and adjust as needed.
Okay, thank you.
What other questions can we help answer?
So there's not per user, you know, when we talk about this, I just want to go back to the fees, because I remember, Kelly, when we talked initially, I thought we were talking about per student, no?
So with Score My Pitch, it's not based on that. Test My Pitch is, again, thinking of sort of public pricing, it's based on the number of users. It's probably more than likely because it would be very hard in one university, let alone sort of a consortium of universities, to identify the number of users and all the use cases. Is we'd probably just come up with a sort of by school price or whatnot, and of course we can sort of figure that out as we go in terms of interest. But yeah, I think it'll be just much easier to give sort of a site license than to really count those. We'd rather sort of have you use it and apply it as much as you possibly can.
Sure. Okay. So is there anything else that folks would like to know that are on the phones? I mean, Kathleen and Phil, are you available for consultation, individual follow-up, if need be, or?
We are.
Okay.
Yeah, we are, and we'd love to, and I'd love to get others involved who would be actually directly implementing this. I mean, I'm talking for the dean of the business school. I just see application across everything, but I've got Elise here that has her pulse even closer on the assessment piece, as well as some of our professors, and a lot of you know Pauline, who's probably the best apostles that we have here for anything. So she can help us too, and I'd love her to be part of it.
Pauline is a force of nature.
Yes, we are truly blessed to have her here.
No doubt, and we are recording this, just so you know.
Bill?
Yeah.
Hi, Tom Zarecki. I'm also from Western Connecticut State University at a different undisclosed location from Kathleen and Elise. Number one, this looks really, really good, and as Kathleen has already mentioned, this has wide applications in assessment and in class use. Even our campus radio station may benefit from this in some other ways, as may some other clubs. But my question is, when you and Kelly developed this thing, did you originally plan it to be for colleges and institutions, educational institutions, or was it really initially designed for commercial organizations? Just curious.
That's a really good question. So actually, our background, our first business, and we've started 6 businesses together, is our first one was a business networking organization. So we had a group of over 100 business professionals that would get together 3 times a month, and this was primarily business owners. And we kept seeing them be challenged at self-introduction. I mean, these people, had owned businesses for 20 years and so on, and at their sort of very mature level, even they were having trouble introducing themselves effectively to other people. And so this really came from that, and we ended up licensing other people to start similar groups around the country. But as we sort of exited out of that and sort of thought about that challenge, this has been something that's been bugging us for a while, and so it was really developed first with the idea of helping, could be students, could be professionals or business owners with self-introduction, and then of course it evolved into business pitches and the career communication and all that. So it's the tool now is sort of flexible enough to really accommodate every and any communication use case, but it really very much came from a very simple focus on self-introduction and the power of that. So it's a great question, Tom. Thank you. But did that answer?
Yes, it does. And a related question is, how about tech support? Is that included in your smorgasbord price, or is that additional? How does that work?
Yeah, no, we definitely support when we click set up accounts, you would get all the administrative credentials. We've got a whole host of support videos as well as a welcome kit that has even pre-written emails for students, so that when you're rolling it out, you just literally copy and paste and adjust the text to fit your own student body. But it's sort of most of the support elements have been anticipated, but we're certainly here. Our cell numbers are on the website, so we're here to support however we can.
Okay, great. Thanks.
Yeah, you bet. Are there other questions or anything else we can help with this morning?
Yeah, this is Jason Snyder from CSCU. You may have already mentioned this, so I apologize if I'm asking this question again, but if we had faculty who would be using this for classroom presentations or assignments, does the program integrate with the learning management system we use, Blackboard? So does it integrate with that, or is this a separate login account for the students?
That's a great question. The way it is today, and we're a fairly young company, we're independent, but that certainly is the direction we're going, to be integrated with Blackboard and the other learning management systems. So I'd expect that over the coming months to be able to offer that. It's just we're evolving and trying to hit the biggest priorities first.
Sure. Thank you.
Sure, you bet. Are there other questions? Anything else that we can help out with this morning?
And you're going to send a follow-up with the recorded webinar to everyone that was on the call today, or?
Yeah, we will. We should have that. It usually takes us about 24 hours to get a recording this long live on YouTube, but we'll get that live and get that out, and certainly follow up with anyone that's expressed interest. And certainly we encourage certain contact as well. I'm just going to put our contact info up on the screen here. So certainly feel free to reach out. That's Kelly's cell with her email, and then my cell with my email. So we don't hide. They're easy to find.
Thank you very much.
Oh, our pleasure entirely. Is there anything else that we can help with? Well, we'll sign off for now, but thank you all very much, and we're really looking forward to working with you, and certainly looking forward to answering any additional questions as well.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bill.
Bye.
Bye now.